So I got a problem here. Not with my hair or anything. I was just trying to fix it. Didn't think I probably should have fixed it before I started the video, but it don't matter. What I was going to say, I'm kind of in a predicament here because I got this female voice telling me to grow up in my head in reference to my emails and these videos, in reference to things like, I compared hell to heaven, and I said, well, the cocaine in heaven's pure, and the hookers are nicer, and in hell, it's there's no cocaine, and the hookers really aren't that nice. Oh, and they got yachts and stuff in heaven. Remember that? Those emails, things like that. Things that go back to my childhood before I joined the Army, and even after the Army, just old phraseology and things like that, like got to be having my boats and hoes. I'm always using terminology like this to send a message, and the problem that I got is all of that code that I wrote when I wasn't grown up like I am now is the code that is part of the key, right, for the Keystone Pipeline here. So if that code was written down as part of the key, and everything I do is seventh dimensional, well, it may seem like I'm not grown up, and that is because the code comes from a time when I wasn't grown up. So, I'm all grown up now, but I have to use my non-grown up rhetoric and phraseology there in my narratives that I send to the intel community. I have to use all of that in the manner that I am because that's how the code was written. So, for all of you that's getting the multi-dimensional, it's kind of like the Pulp Fiction pawn shop scene, right? See, what that means, remember the story where I said that if you sell a gun to a law-abiding citizen who's a respectable citizen, and then they turn around and try to kill their neighbor with it, and you go over there to shoot, or they kill their neighbor with it, right? I'm a little slow right now. Then, is that the gun, the people that sold the gun's fault? No, it's not. And that's kind of like Lockheed Martin and what was taking place in that pawn shop scene. So what they're trying to do is beat up Lockheed Martin. Some people are, right? And I was really happy with my life when it was just Lockheed and I. So what happened is they, I already covered that. But the growing up part is how I depicted that in the pawn shop scene in Pulp Fiction. This is a really boring video, but it's important. It's kind of like one of those nights where that guy that does the dry, clear eyes commercial. He's what's his name? That guy. I'll put his name down in the description. I'll have to look it up. That really boring guy did that commercial. So, what was I talking about? Oh, how boring this video is. But it's important, the information in it is. So, like I said, I'm not here to make friends. So if you want to watch this boring video to get good information, well, bear with me. Growing up and all of that, yeah. So keep that in mind while you're reading my emails. That I have to write it that way because when I established the other six dimensions, I hadn't grown up yet. So as you're laying down the railroad tracks in one dimension, in the first dimension, right? If you're the commander of the seventh dimension, and I'm not always laying the railroad tracks down in the first dimension, but I've got to duplicate. I've got to try to duplicate. I'm laying down the railroad tracks in the seventh dimension, and then that comes down to the first dimension. Okay, so when I was a child and I figured out I had this special, unique power, superpower, like some sort of a superhero, who wrote the script to Pinky and the Brain, by the way. When I realized I had that power, I was definitely not grown up, and I was raised in the hood, where we used to eat LSD when we were 15 years old and like look at the water tower all night. Yeah, that was pretty good there. I didn't even plan that. But yeah, that's what we did, and we grew up in, it was like a little urban hood in Alvin, Texas. We weren't terrible kids. We just liked to get high. That was pretty much a party. We weren't troublemakers. We were party animals who knew how not to get in trouble, for the most part, even when we were 15 years old. So, the problem is whenever I was laying down the seventh dimension back then, that's when the code was established for that to carry on. And so that carried on, and then there was a period there where I was on vacation. Really wasn't worried about it. And then I got this rude awakening one day. And I realized that I was going to have to start laying those seventh dimensional tracks down again, like I'm doing. But the code that I originally established, that I've got to line that seventh dimension up all the way back to the when I was not grown up. The code that's there is my younger self, who's not grown up, and now I'm grown up, who has to distribute information as my younger self, right? Which is a complex situation because it may not read like something that is precision fired when you're reading my emails, but the logic in those emails is precision fired, right? So it's logic of a party animal 15-year-old, 13, 14, 15-year-old, especially when I got to 15. So there's all that in play. It's just the kind of things that, I just wanted to let you know that that was like me when I'm being me when I was 15 for the Kodaks there, and that's really all I want to say about that. And I can take a polygraph and provide witnesses to the fact that we really did eat LSD and look at the water tower when we were 15 years old on Midas Lane or Sadime Street, where my Iranian buddy Nick and his dad was the director of the water department and our soccer coach for the Cosmos, and I played sweeper. Like I said, it's really important because if I explained my jobs, how I worked at the cyanide plant, then I went to Buckeye Pipeline, and then a fishing guide service with Topwater Super Spooks and all that stuff. This is all true stories. I'm not making any of this up. I just wanted you to know that to further emphasize why it doesn't seem like I'm grown up in my emails. Because literally, like this railroad track that we're in right now was in the code and everything that makes sense in every dimension. was written whenever I was 15 years old, and I would eat LSD and look at the water tower. So, I just, that's important. All the code that was in Pinky and the Brain, which was written when I was 8, right? Then it was on this television whenever I was 12, 13, 14 years old, right? And I watched every episode when I was a child. So that was the very first time I think I ever laid any railroad tracks in the 7th dimension when I was 8 years old. And then the attaching code to the next sector of railroad tracks was when I was a gangsta ass nigga yo on Midas Lane. We called it DA for drug alley yo. Southside up in here yo. But anyway, you know, boats and hoes. I mean, all we were worried about was doing drugs and screwing girls, right? So, you know, getting some pussy and stuff. Not screwing them. I shouldn't say screwing them. Should have said getting some pussy. It's not as rude. So we'd get some pussy and do drugs when we were 15. And that's when the next bout of railroad tracks came after the first bout when I was 8 for the scripting out of Pinky and the Brain. So there's that second section of railroad tracks in the 7th dimension with the code that I'm putting in my emails that has the most presence, which makes it seem like I'm not grown up. I don't know how many different ways I can put this, but I think I made my point. I was just having a conversation with the Pentagon about how the Pentagon is worried about getting along with China too much because I'm the best diplomat and ambassador on the planet. And I'm getting along great with China, and then the Pentagon's my niggers. So, you know, I got to keep them happy. But at the same time, I'm getting along great with China, and the Pentagon's like, hey man, this isn't good. We can't get along with people too much because, you know, it's a whole industry you would lose there that's you know, just as important as the oil industry as far as the economy goes. And so I was telling them, I was like, well, y'all can pretend like you're not getting along. You know, I mean, you know, Wag the Dog pops up in your heads-up display, and Steven Spielberg is on your indicator over here going, and all that. So you pretend like you're not getting along, and then you don't lose that sector of the war machine there, which is a critical part of the economy. And people will still happily give you their tax dollars to create war machines. Just put on a big show, you know. And that way we can all get along. I'm pretty good at that, if you haven't noticed. That laugh that I just did really isn't Spielberg. It kind of is because he's attached to the same flock of poor autistic children that y'all are using for cogs for your technocracy and your cognitive warfare model there, NATO. So yeah, they hacked a bunch of autistic children. I got a whole farm of them over here that I'm linked up to, and they're the ones that help lay the foundation to that seventh dimension I was talking about, where they pointed out Saddam Hussein after Iran Khan translate. That's the new general class, obviously. So yeah, that's what that laugh always means when I hear that in my head. It's like a whole flock of autistic children. If you're getting my emails, you know what I'm talking about. I actually feel sorry for the autistic children. So much so that Elon Muskrat Love's Foundation for Kids Who I Feel Sorry For is going to come to fruition, just like Zoolander said there. What is this, a school for ants? Mo got you. But I don't want to make light of the autistic situation with the autistic calls because they're really crafty at manipulating the system for murder, if you haven't noticed, and I don't want them to whack me. So I am their messenger, on top of the fact that I'm the commander of the seventh dimension. But this little tribe of elves that I've got here are. I'm glad they're on my side. That's all I got to say. But I don't want to make it sound like I'm taking that too lightly. But it is, music to my ears. Usually when I hear from the choir over there. I don't want to seem like I'm cold-hearted, piece of shit or anything. It's just I'm sharing their enjoyment with that. Is what it is. I'm not making fun of them in the least. I'd be scared to because, like I said, they're trained assassins now. So I don't want to have any accidents. If you catch my drift. Another thing these autistic cogs do constantly is remind me of how Nazis have practiced the euthanization of autistic children in the past because they consider them worthless scumbags. Well, now that your Nazi technology has created this Borg society within a technocracy that uses electromagnetic technology and microwaves that links us up to quantum AI, and you've hacked a large swath of the population, those autistic children that you illegally hacked and put through hell so that you could merge them with that machine. Well, the irony for those autistic children is now that they have completely conquered you and destroyed you, and you are nothing more than the shit on the bottom of their shoe at this point, after they conned you so bad, unbelievably. I mean, good golly. It's just flat out ridiculous. Remember I said when I was a kid that bullies would pick on me and call me a retard? I said, you want to go home and tell your mom that a retard kicked your ass? And it was back then it was funny, and now it's a whole lot more funny. General Retard. So the irony is that these the new general class within your new 21st century cognitive warfare war model that you've developed between all of the nuclear triad and everybody else there, so that y'all can have 21st century homosexual wars, where basically it's sex wars, where people like Monica Lewinsky give Bill Clinton a blowjob, and then Peggy Babcock for Trump, and you know how that is, and there's always the underlying message there. The Lewinsky finished the Cuban Missile Crisis off with the bang. That seventh dimensional message that's always in there that makes y'all look like total fucking Nazi idiot scumbag niggers is what it makes y'all look like. And the irony is the autistic children who know that you coal retarded children because you consider them worthless scumbags are the ones that you're going to work for now if you survive. So they just wanted me to let you know that y'all are worthless scumbag niggers. Forrest Gump covered that really well, and so did Pinky and the Brain, by the way. Completely seventh dimensional movie, straight out of my head. Unbelievably tied to everything that you've been getting in my emails. Like, it's undeniable. So I even got the bullet hole in my butt cheek. You gave me Lieutenant Dan Patrick's phone number. The whole Forrest Gump thing is a seventh dimensional movie that played out in every dimension until you get to that the emergency, right? Which is, I've covered all that. So what it is while y'all were living within this Nazi technocracy of mind control that uses things like fusion GPS, and Russian hookers were peeing on President Trump, and the Hubble telescope, Neuralink, SpaceLink, Starlink, or Neuralink, Starlink, Tesla cars, Falcon 9 rockets, the hoods come off, X-Files, the whole 9 yards, and I've explained that to perfection. Well, that is the new general class, is the autistic cogs that put all of that, siphoned it through their mind within the mind hive, percolated it to the intel community and their writers for Hollywood. And they put it in movies so that when the future played out, that they would have a script that exposed the fact that you've illegally hacked our minds within a technocracy using things like nanotechnology and electromagnetic technology that can actually hack your DNA for the transhumanist agenda, which is the post-human era, which is 9/11, an emergency, God made man in the image of himself, Saddam Hussein. See how that works? So, yeah. You've had AI for 80 years now. They just really haven't mentioned it. So, yeah. Check the AI initiative logo. There's 7 stars on it that represents 7 decades of artificial intelligence collaboration, at least, right? I think it's like 9 or 10 decades, okay, or 9 decades since Operation Paperclip. Minority Report with the cogs in the pool. This is for YouTube. Everybody understands this that's getting my emails. And the original purpose for making this video was to explain why I don't act grown up, if you'll remember. So, see how that works and why I don't act grown up, because the foundation for all of that was during a period that I wasn't grown up. So, got to be having my boats and hoes, niggas. Tulsi Gabbard, Gab for Gabrielle, is all grown up now too. And if you spin her name around backwards, it's Drab Bag Eye Slut for an inversion of the truth. I think God came up with that one. He's pretty clever. I didn't come up with that spinning around backwards part. Tucker Carlson called me a... This is an ET-backed message. I did not plan on burping in the middle of it, but it's also part of the code from when I was younger, so I gotta use it even though I'm grown up. Sorry about that. So, Tucker Carlson. Yeah. He called me a power-hungry buffoon on his television show one day. He might be right. But like I said, you want to go home and tell your mom that a retard kicked your ass? You know that autistic mind hive that I was talking about that I'm connected to? I think I know what happened now. Those little monsters. Because we've been connected for a long time in that Minority Report style setup that you get in my emails. When we looked at, whenever I put together the charts with the correlation of mercury and the flu shot and Alzheimer's, that mind hive that I was connected to had a flat-out meltdown because they found out that the government, they were already trying to whack all of you, so this just added fuel to the fire and really made my life suck. By the way, you know what y'all could do is all tell your parents to take 1% of your Social Security out and send it to me, since I'm your nigger helper. Who has to do all your dirty work for you, your autistic elves. So literally, I'm not making this up. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, the meltdown that bent y'all over and raped you even worse than you were already getting bent over and raped, Washington. was when the autistic cogs figured out that the reason that they were autistic and not normal like the other people is because there was mercury in the flu shot, with that trend that was escalating at the exact same angle there on the chart as the flu shots distributed. Well, when you're autistic and you see something like that in Google Images and you're the autistic cogs commander, or now I'm their nigger, because we all became cognizant of that at the same time, and they made me their nigger. So I'm their nigger, and which I'm helping them. It's your system, assholes, right? So they made me their nigger, and now I have to assassinate all of you. I think that's what they're going for here. They're just trying to pull all the right strategies and everything, and plotted out the avenues. Get it to where y'all can like have car wrecks into each other and kill each other, and it doesn't look too obvious and things like that. At this point, after they get all that information, that's what they need me for, is to be like, yeah, that's the problem. Figure out how to whack all them assholes. I think you got them all by the balls, because you got a whole lot more dirt on them than they have on you, their autistic flock. So, yeah, you could start assassinating them. You know, they're about to lay off a bunch of Navy SEALs and stuff because they're going to refuse to take that vaccine that that caused you to be autistic. So what you'll want to do with that is get those guys on your side somehow, and we'll use them as assassins if we have to. We'll just get real dirty on them. We'll just go at them hardcore the old-fashioned way, without having to manipulate the system to where they all crash into each other on the highway, have collateral damage and things like that. So, I'm trying to get back off of the collateral damage there a little bit, because I still got a little bit of a conscience, not much. After dealing with y'all and understanding what y'all gonna deal with. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't mind being your nigger. You could take care of me a little bit more. God wanted me to tell you that, because I'm his nigger too. So, yeah. I think what it is God set all of this up so that you could, all you demons could get your asses kicked by retards. That's gotta be what it is. Strawberry fields forever. The Beatles. Nothing is real. I don't know if I got that right. I'm not a musician. I already went over that. Nothing is real. Yeah. So Nothing is Real by the Beatles. And the lyric in that song. Well, okay. Yeah. Sure, that's fine. However, I still want to live a normal life and be happy, void of total mind controlling, state of the art, sophisticated technology that cinnamon that makes my lips swell up. Their general portray us. For your political hit job on Dan Patrick, along with that Facebook Patsy playbook that y'all been running quite regularly, which is unbelievably obvious. Total violations of the Constitution, like beyond measure. You're not even It required cosmic police to come down here and bitch slap you into oblivion, which is what's taking place. But anyways, yeah, I could go along with that Nothing is Real theme too. I don't really care. I don't even really look into it that way. It doesn't even strike a chord with me like, is this real or is this a simulation? I really want to figure out if we're living in a computer simulation or is this like real? Like, is God real and all of that? I believe that God's real. And knowing that I believe in God is real, and so that is where none of that really matters to me. I just kind of wanted to be normal and live a normal life before black helicopters showed up at my house for your puppet nigger program, where you put people in the office that are complete imbeciles, and then you check out the hook while the DJ revolves it. You know that whole program. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and when you fuck with my happiness, even though that I know that God is real, and who cares if we live in a computer simulation? When you fuck with my happiness, it makes me want to hunt down the people that were involved in that, have you prosecuted, then sent to a death by firing squad facility so that I can blow your brains out. And I've been over this several times. So that's where I'm at on all that.